And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, Tickety Boo, everything's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, son. Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo!
Welcome to Tickety Boo. It's that time of year again, Valentine's Day. The day of love, overpriced roses and awkward restaurant bookings. But let's be honest, not everyone's feeling the romance. Whether you're loved up, single or just over the whole thing, there's a lot of pressure and expectation around February the 14th. So, let's talk about it, the good, the bad, and why your relationship status doesn't define your worth. So grab a cuppa or a box of chocolates and let's get into it. Well, welcome back to another episode of Tickety Boo. I'm here in the studio with Iona, Barney and Ian, and today we're going to be talking about all things Valentine's Day. The expectations, the way it makes you feel. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We're going to cover all of that in this bite-sized episode. So guys, before we step into it, I'd be really interested on hearing your opinions on Valentine's Day. Do you like it? Do you do it? Do you get involved in it? How do you feel about it?
I think there's too much pressure put on Valentine's Day itself.
Right.
Whether you're single or in a relationship, I think people who are single may question and worry that they're single on Valentine's Day. Personally, I don't celebrate it. And then I think in relationships, and we were talking about this earlier, there's a lot of unmet expectations or unexpressed expectations, so there can be some disappointment. So I think it's easier in a relationship if you can agree on whether you're even going to celebrate it or not. But the short of it is, I think every day you should treat your partner with love and compassion and respect, not just that one day of the year. And let's not forget all those other really amazing relationships we have in our life. It's not just about being in that relationship on Valentine's Day, and I know it can be quite loaded for people. And yeah, so I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
Not sure I'm the right person to talk about this. As I'm getting older and more grumpy, my list of things that I call BS on is getting longer and longer and longer. And to be honest, for me, Valentine's Day is somewhere near the top.
Didn't you say that your lovely wife would, what would she say if you got her a Valentine's card?
I would get a round of something unpleasant. I definitely think so, because both of us, it's very nice when, you know, you want to express your desire for somebody at the start of a relationship. But when you're 30 years in...
Well, obviously I know that you and Louise have been together for a long time. There was probably a point where you did do Valentine's?
Yes, and... Louise has still got the teddy bears and some of the stuff that I bought her. I remember there was a purchase of a teddy bear and a giant chocolate chicken once.
A chocolate chicken?
A chocolate chicken?
Yeah, I'm a last-minute shopper, so they'd run out of roses. So she got a giant chocolate chicken that my mate was selling out the back of his van.
Oh, I love that.
That's love for you, that is, isn't it?
Well, she doesn't even like chocolate. It took me 3 months to eat it.
What I'm interested in, though, is was there a point in the relationship where you had a conversation about not doing it, or was it just something you unconsciously both stopped doing?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think it was probably after we got married. But yeah, we just decided that we don't need one day to validate the way that we feel about each other. And it kind of almost felt demeaning to what we have the rest of the time to try and put this focus on one day.
Do you think that Valentine's Day has become more about there's an expectation that you should be in a relationship rather than celebrating the relationship that you're in or you're not in?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to suck if you're the single person on Valentine's Day and social media is full of everyone loved up.
Yeah, it's quite funny. This is the topic of today's show. The three of us are maybe not the best people to be talking about this, but the listeners, there will be our listeners and viewers. It's this is airing in February, where it's Valentine's month. So we wanted to address some of the thinking attached to this and where we can kind of get stuck.
It's like asking the Grinch to do Christmas.
Yes. I think for me, my earliest memory of Valentine's Day was actually at primary school. And what they would do at in the run up to Valentine's Day, they would put like this. Someone made like a cardboard post box, and it was out in the hall, and you could discretionary put a card in there for somebody that you liked, and then on Valentine's Day they were distributed around the classroom. My earliest memory was being with a load of kids in the classroom not receiving a card. So my earliest experience of Valentine's Day was rejection.
Ooh.
I'm not talking like serious, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There was like those that were popular and got a card
Yeah.
and were liked with somebody, and those that didn't, and you felt different about yourself on those days. So my earliest experience of it probably wasn't the greatest experience, and I could see how people on Valentine's Day that are single or whatever, they can feel like that too.
Yeah.
Because it's not all inclusive, is it?
It is not all inclusive.
But what about being your own Valentine's?
Yes, I will fully support
Loving
that.
yourself. I mean, don't send yourself a card. That's a bit extreme.
Wow.
But
Oh, why not?
Why
Buy
not?
yourself some flowers.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all right.
That
date
is a-
yourself.
That is something. Occasionally, I go and buy myself flowers just to have flowers because
Yeah.
they're pretty, and I've got the most amazing florist shop around the corner from my house. So when I'm walking past, just on a whim, I'll go. I'm buying myself some flowers
Well,
today.
if you were my wife, I'd buy you flowers every day, just not on February the 14th.
One of my family members, it's actually my brother who's no longer with us. Him and his wife, he used to buy her flowers every single Friday because that's what she wanted. And so between them, they decided that this was what they would do. She wanted flowers. He would bring flowers. So again, it's going back to that communication and expectations. And this is how they nurtured their love.
Do you think that events like Valentine's Day create pressure around how your relationship should look like?
Yes.
It must be perfect.
Well, I think you get to a point where you don't. Well, for me, I'm not too bothered what it looks like from the outside. I don't need
But that's the
external
healthiest
validation.
way to be. You and Louise.
Yeah,
are
you're not the
just-
norm.
You're not the norm. You and Louise are a
You're-
great
you're-
example of
You know,
good
like you look
relationship.
at the Christmas cards, don't you? It's the perfect snowy scene with the boy walking down the street and the snowman. In reality, it's slush with cars crashing all over the place. And that's what I kind of mean with like Valentine's Day as well. That hallmark experience of you're in love and there's roses and everything in the world is absolutely great. If that's not your reality on that day, it almost makes you feel worse.
Well, for us, we started watching our friends making all these grand gestures, and we'd look and we think, I'm not paying 3 times the price for some flowers or double the price for a meal in a restaurant. I'll just go tomorrow. Because do you know what? We probably would have done that in any way. And for us, because the other side of our relationship was healthy, I didn't need to validate it. So the actions and me doing that, the feelings and everything attached to doing it just weren't there, and it wasn't important to either of us. So we were just like, why? We don't need to make those grand gestures. We just treat each other properly every day.
Yeah,
And I
That's the
think
way
that's
to-
what that is the example of a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
absolutely. So do you almost feel like we could do with kind of shifting the narrative around Valentine's Day and it more about spending time with friends and family and other like-minded people rather than it's just a me and you type thing? Or is it like it's off the calendar?
I think it could be a good excuse to go around and see people that, friends that maybe they're on their own, they're not in a good place. It's a good time to support them, same as Christmas, because it could be a trigger for something they're feeling.
Make it more inclusive.
Yeah,
more
definitely.
inclusive experience.
I don't think you should take away an opportunity to celebrate love.
Yeah.
Why would you?
But why do we need a date in the calendar to allow that to be expressed?
Well, we don't. I mean, it's only this for me is something that you would celebrate in that initial stage where you're
The honeymoon
in
period.
love and not. It's being in love and not love, where you've got that initial honeymoon period. You've got that trying to impress each other, trying to make that other person understand the depth of your feeling for them.
Like
or,
with a chocolate chicken.
mate, it was a winner. I was a keeper.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. I love it.
Yeah, there's probably nobody out there that also experienced this, but once you really heartfelt give a woman, a young lady, a chocolate chicken, you see by the look in her eyes, she's never going to let you go.
I would love to know if there's any viewers or listeners to this episode that received a chocolate chicken on Valentine's Day. Please message us, because it'd be nice to know if Louise is the only one on the planet.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not about. It seems to be, look, there's a grand gesture. I'm really into you. Please reciprocate. I don't feel the need for that. But maybe if I was single and trying to impress somebody, this would be a perfect opportunity to do it. Just for me personally, it's.
Do you think some people, secretly, I'm obviously referring to single people, but secretly hope they wake up in the morning and there's a red envelope waiting for them on the doormat, even though they're probably not. It's almost like if I woke up this morning and there was a red envelope on the doormat, I feel all right. If you get up in the morning and there's nothing on the doormat, you're kind of like, are we allowing that day to dictate what our mood's like, depending on your status and position in life at that stage?
I don't know.
It's just that. I mean, normally I have to get the raw mail to put mine outside on a pallet because they block all the letterbox up.
Yeah, of course. If I get a red letter on my doorstep, it's from the energy company telling me I haven't paid the bill or something.
But yeah, it's got to be difficult. I mean, how do you tune out of this if you're single or, you're not wanting a relationship on that day where it's absolutely everywhere, it's on the TV
also,
or the shops? And
for some people, they might have just come out of a hard relationship or just unexpectedly found themselves single. Or maybe they've recently broken up and their ex is with someone else and they can see them on socials doing these big gestures. So I would think then it's really hard. So obviously, if someone's struggling around Valentine's Day for whatever reason, take yourself on a date. Maybe don't go to the restaurants on Valentine's Day because it's filled with couples. I know from my years of working in the industry before. But maybe plan to treat yourself like over that weekend, or take yourself off for a spa day, or go for a walk. Like try and do something that you enjoy for yourself, a reward for yourself to celebrate you. Get together with your friends. I would think if you are struggling with the lead up to Valentine's Day for whatever reason, then really communicate with your friends, reach out to somebody, make sure you're spending the day with someone or planning something to celebrate who you are, because you're all amazing and everybody deserves love, but we get to love ourselves first.
Well, everybody naturally everybody wants to feel desirable and they want to feel lovable. But the thing is, some of what we're trying, it almost sounds like people look at being single as a problem to be fixed. It isn't. It's just, instead of loving somebody else, you're comfortable loving yourself.
And your
which
self-worth
is the most important.
is more than a card.
Yeah, self-worth.
Your self-worth. But if you're single, could you not use Valentine's Day as an opportunity, if you wish to get into a relationship, to think about the kind of partner relationship you'd like in the future? Rather than reflecting on what you don't have at that point in time.
Reflect on what you would like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that feeling of you feel like you've got no choice to be involved in that day, or spend the whole day trying to avoid it. Yeah. Because it's everywhere, isn't it? I mean, it's in the supermarket. Like, as soon as the Christmas decorations are out the shop, the Valentine's cards are there, aren't they? Yeah. And 30 seconds out, they're off the shelf. The Easter eggs are there. There's this continual cycle of days and things that you need to be pulled into. But I think Valentine's Day is just one of those ones that, if you are on your own or you've chosen to be on your own, it's a reminder that it can kind of give you the sense that everyone's out there leading the perfect life, happily in love, and you're there on your own, not having a great time. And I think that's the problem with the day.
Yeah, that's definitely the negative side of it.
Yeah, kind of almost feeds into some of the stuff we were talking about, the winter and the low mood and all the rest of it.
But again, that's not the day. That's the emotion that you attach to it, and that's the importance that you're giving it the day. So how about we just don't give the day that importance? Don't award it that kind of importance in your life.
So what will you be doing then on Valentine's Day, other than trying to find another chocolate chicken?
Probably.
I'm intrigued how you find a man with a van that has a chocolate chicken in the back, but that's a different story. Maybe that's another future episode.
It's a gift. It was the 90s. It was different. But I can promise you I won't be celebrating it, won't be buying any cards. It's just not my thing.
I get it. I think, you do have the right to tune out with it. But if you are in a relationship, you don't want to do it, I think it's important that's communicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because maybe one partner is expecting that we do gifts and cards, and you just decide, actually, I don't want to do it anymore.
But is Valentine's Day, is it all romantic or is it celebrating love? Because if we can acknowledge all the different kinds of love that we have with friends, with family, that's, it's not just romantic love that has value in your life.
Yeah.
So I think how about we reposition it and go out with a good friend, go out with a family member, celebrate love, which is instead of romantic attachment. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too many people
single.
kind of place their value on what happens on that actual day.
And to be fair, there's something missing. If you can only validate yourself and your love based on the actions of somebody on that one day,
Is it
it
not
feels
more
like there's
your
something a little bit missing.
expectation?
Yeah.
If there's an expectation of, maybe the day's the day my secret admirer steps forwards and expresses their undying love for me, and they don't, or whatever. There's.
Yeah.
I think everybody, even unconscious bias, kind of goes, today I might get a card. We'll see.
Again, you're laying down the expectation, and then when these expectations don't happen, you're the one that's getting disappointed. And it's you expecting maybe somebody to do something grand, and they don't do it. You're expecting your solid but most unromantic husband to suddenly do something beautifully romantic and start singing from the window and running around with a rose between his teeth, and it doesn't happen, so you're disappointed. Well,
I suppose
it's your own expectations that are causing you your own problem there.
kind of don't want to get on the guys' backs here, but if your male partner's not romantic all year round, in any shape or form, and then one day a year goes to Tesco's and gets a card and a rose, is it a bit sort of like insulting? Or
Having said that, it does sound a bit firelighty. I'm trying not to describe it that way, but if you've got somebody that isn't romantic and never is, and they do make that gesture,
is that
does it sort of I don't know, compound how you feel? Does it feel so much better, or is he doing it because that's what everybody else is doing it, and it would actually have far more of an impact if he did it off his own back, on another day randomly, where society didn't have his arm up his back making him do it.
Yeah,
I know which one would have the greater value to me personally.
Yeah, but the whole thing, when I was growing up, Valentine's Day was like a secret thing.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't tell you were sent the card, but you didn't let them know. It was about letting them know that somebody admired them, but they needed to figure it out.
Yeah, Mum's handwriting was always a giveaway.
Love it.
At school it was trying to figure out whose handwriting is that. It was the whole. Yeah, I don't know. Would that make you feel weird receiving a card and not knowing who it was from?
Not in those days, maybe
When I mean like
now.
child versus adult. As an adult, if you received a card and you didn't know who it was from, would that make you curious? Would it freak you out a little bit? Would it make you feel good? Would it make you feel bad? Everyone's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah,
on that,
everyone's going
aren't
to be different with that, aren't they?
Yeah.
If I received a card with no name in it, I must admit, Mrs. Young would probably give it more thought than me.
You'd be out looking for another chocolate chicken. You got some
That's
making
for sure.
I mean, the key message of this short episode is really like, guys, it's one day in the year, and if you're out of a relationship or not in a relationship and you just sick to death of the whole thing, you can totally check out of it and date yourself and do something else or get together with some friends. Don't base your self-worth on whether somebody decides to validate you with a card or a bunch of flowers. It's so much more than that, and your worth is so much more than that as well, isn't
Absolutely.
But we just wanted to do this bite-sized episode because, you know, it's that time of year and a few of you will be thinking about it, and hopefully for some of you it's extremely romantic and others not too traumatic.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. But thanks very much for listening to this episode. As always, give us a like, share, comment. If you're on Spotify or Apple or watching us on YouTube, please click that notification button, that subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time we release a new episode. Thanks very much for watching.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the Tickety Boo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.